vital fluids, or is it concentration contemplation?
Yeah, I don't think he mentioned the control vital fluid.
Yeah, I think he did.
He talks about like the Chinese fake mystics.
Oh, you make the fake mystics?
Yeah. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a book online. I think I put it online. The Brahmachara book. There's a book online by Sivananda. Yeah. Yeah, he goes into it a lot. He even taught in that book. He gives lessons for the married man too. So
I haven't read it.
yeah, you don't have to read the whole thing. Just read sections of it that apply to you, because all of that is good. It's good knowledge to know, but the sections that apply to you, you know, yeah, it's too cultural in my opinion. Yeah. The Brahmachara, he made it too. I don't even think that he wrote that book. I think his students. Yeah, I think his students took his lectures and took things that he said, and they throwed a lot of culture in there. And I think a lot of his books are that way too. I don't think he wrote all. I know he get credit for writing, what was 130 some books. But I think some of the books that was done by some of his students that obvious. I know that because some of the statements they make in there, it goes against his earlier books. So I know he didn't write it.
Control, how is it different than surgical? I mean, it doesn't really change your body physically, but it does chemically.
What
Like the pill, for instance.
well, I'm not endorsing pills.
Oh, yeah.
You not endorsing what?
I'm not endorsing birth control pills.
To do
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, birth control pills, it's just really, it's all up to you. It's all up to you. It's probably the lesser evil of surgical.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. So I'm not telling you stop taking birth control pills, but and just knowledge. It's just understanding that it's going to affect you in some type of subtle way.
Yeah.
You know. But the best method is moderation, and when you do, try to use some type of birth control.
That's a woman too.
If you're not ready to take care, that's for women and men.
Yeah,
If you're not ready to take care of a child, because I think it's wrong to bring a child into the world if you're not prepared to take care of that child. I think that's the highest, and yeah, that's the. So you have to, you have to deal with your weaknesses, and it means that you take on some type of negative karma in order to deal with that. I think you need to do it. As simple as that. It's just being practical, because when you bring a child in the world, it's your responsibility. Probably for the first 21 years of that child's life.
At least.
So, but you cannot just bring kids in the world and don't take care of them.
Yeah. I suppose it's a matter of where you stand philosophically and karmically. What do you want to do with your life and your
Yeah.
that's all.
For some reason I keep thinking from Europe.
Most people do.
Yeah. You sound a little German. You sound like one of ours who's German. You don't sound Venezuelan.
But there was a lot of, wasn't there a lot of German descent
There
and
is German religion.
yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So yeah, my ex-husband is German, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of Germans over
That's
there.
what people pick up, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm not German, but yeah.
It does make sense. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, skin tone, light, eyes, I'm like, yeah, you can fit that profile.
Yeah, well, even move beyond the physical, just the accent. Yeah. The move back actually in this couple, but you sound just like she did. She sounded. You speak German too?
No, I understand a little, but not really.
You know, right?
Tell them they can ask questions. It's an open questionnaire thing.
I have a question
Yeah.
related to what we're discussing about illness
Mm-hmm.
and how to discuss it with other people who are not familiar with our teachings.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of when you discuss chakras in popular New Age communities,
Mm-hmm.
they would say that an illness takes root in the chakra and then manifests physically. So let's say you have an imbalance of I don't know, like fertility imbalance.
Mhm.
They would say, oh, that's your root chakra, it's out of balance,
Mhm.
or some kind of trauma there. So how would I explain it in a better sense? That is your samskaras that you have, and most of our lower chakras are polluted. So that a lot
Mhm.
of illness and disease and depression and anxiety comes from those lower modifications,
Mm-hmm.
from that. The chakras are balanced and perfect as they are.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
dealing with the
Yeah.
energy that is provided to them. So
The best way to explain it is that with every, if you got to understand the root. See, a lot of them don't understand. Like, if you look at a mala, you know what a mala is, right? Huh?
Yeah, the beads.
No. I'm talking about a diagram of the chakras.
the mandala,
Yeah. Right? A tantra, what they call a yantra,
again,
right? Oh, all these going dry. You look, you'll have, like, let's say this is the root chakra. How we know this is a root chakra is that this is a petal. Okay? All right? But in the middle of that petal, you have what?
what you do,
Huh?
bija,
Yeah, you have the bindu, right? If you have a bindu there, what do you have that resides over the bindu?
a diva,
A diva. What does a diva do?
Comic law, right?
Huh?
It's a comic law.
Yeah, it does what?
Obeys the law.
It obeys the laws. So now, if you look at that, around each chakra, around the whole body, you have a what? You have an aura. Now, within the aura, you have what? You have vital energy and you have mental energy, right? Now, because you have vital and mental energy, it creates this thing called consciousness. So your whole aura is nothing but what? Consciousness. It's a body of consciousness. Okay? So if you have a body of consciousness, then within the consciousness, you're going to have these impressions from what? From the actions of consciousness. Right? Right? So if you have, from the actions of consciousness, you're going to have this, and what are they called? Samskaras. The samskaras is the thing that alters and pollutes your auric body, or your body of consciousness. And now, the bindu and the diva, or at least the diva, not necessarily the bindu, the diva is going to react to the conscious actions of the samskaras, right? Also here with the BGs, what do you have? What presides over the BG?
and there are other divas as well.
Other divas. See, so there's a diva for each one of these. And what they do, they manipulate the mental energy, the vital energy, the combined consciousness, and the samskaras. They manipulate the energy. Now, the energy going through here is perfect for that life screen because of that. Because why? They make sure that the law of karma is obeyed. So it's not the chakra, It's not the chakra. Is the energy given to the diva to move through the chakra. Okay? Because our thoughts and actions are weighed and balanced and given a reaction by the devic kingdom. Okay? So that's what all of them fail to understand, because number one, most of them don't know anything about the devic kingdom. This is not a popular subject in the New Age group, unfortunately. Huh? You think it would be, but it's not. You know, you don't have the market flooded with chakra diva books. Although every single diagram of the chakras indicate that the diva exists. You know, but they pay no attention to it. Okay, so that's the thing. So I mean, you have to kind of introduce this karmic law, this pressure that's exerted on the energy that passes through the chakras according to your own karmic pattern. And it's not that the energy is warped or the chakra is misfunctioning. It's because you have given it the energy that doesn't have any spark to it. You know, it's like taking water and gas and mixing it and then pushing it through the engine of a car. And that's what we do, life after life after life after life. So therefore, it dilutes the spark, you know. So what do you have? You know, what happens to a car when you put water and gas in the gas tank? You get a bunch of white smoke, right? And the car doesn't function to its ultimate level. So that's what our thoughts and actions are doing to the auric body and the chakra and nadi system. You know, so that's how you have to explain to them. And that it's a fail-safe. The diva is a fail-safe type mechanism. You know, and if they can't understand the concept of a diva, just explain it like something mechanical. Because when you see divas, when you see the diva kingdom, they almost look mechanical. You know, and the best way to see, when you begin to look psychically, go and look at a machine that's operating, and you'll see the diva kingdom fast at work. You know, and they move around like mechanical individuals. But that's what it is. It's like a fail-safe type thing for us. It balanced the law of karma. It balanced the law of karma. So, they, you know, out of ignorance, they say, well, your root chakra is not working right. It's just total out of ignorance. You know.
The chakra is working perfectly. What doesn't work perfectly with us?
Yeah, is the energy that we gave the root chakra to work with. So that's the problem.
Sometimes that comes from other lifetimes, and that's a karma you're
Sometimes it's a buildup of lifetimes. Buildup of lifetimes. Now, don't get depressed because it's not going to work, because you know, you can correct it in a minute if you had the right amount of energy and the right amount of mental energy combined with the vital energy. You know, I was listening to what was that? Joel Osteen this morning. He'd like to tell his little stories, and just before they interrupted everything, and he was about the breaking news, but he was talking about this man that used to go to his father's church, and the man had developed some type of arthritis where his hands was balled up and couldn't move, and the man was open to his father's sermon, you know. So his father went talking about forgiving people, and told him to, and you know, not what he told the congregation, that you need to forgive everyone, you know, don't hold grudges, and just, you know, live life to your fullest and, you know, take on new experiences or whatever. You know, don't hold on to all this stuff. So this guy had a real bad thing about his parents. He felt his parents had mistreated him and did him wrong and all of this, and he held it and he go, you know, hold on that. So he made a vow to forgive his parents and to release them. And when he did that, because Joel Osteen's father said you'll go through a healing, you'll go through a purification. And when he did it, some months later, he was released from that. You know, he didn't have arthritis, and he was a piano player too. So it really took away his ability to play the piano and to make his money and whatever. But he was able to get over that sickness just by releasing his bad feelings for his parents. So it works. It works. It's those, you know, those things hold you back. You create the world in which you live in, you know, from the things you do. So it's not the energy. It's not the energy flowing wrong through the chakras. No, it's not. And that's almost ridiculous. So that's one way to explain to them. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. Like, so the diva is the karmic laws working?
Yeah, in other words, the simple way Dr. King explained it, although I'm sure he understands it in a much better way than I do, but it is because it's really complex when I begin to study it and read it. But the simple way is that many hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years ago, when mankind was introduced to the various planes of existence, there was a group of us. There's a group of souls that decided to follow the law of God, which is the law of karma. You know, without any altercation to the law. So what that did, it propelled them to a whole different realm of existence, right? Because everything they do, they will do it under the law. If it means they have to sit still for 1,000 years, they'll sit still for 1,000 years in order to, you know, in order to make the next move. If it means they have to move every second in order to manipulate the energy, they will do that. So that race of beings became the loyal servants of the laws of karma, of God. And then the beings like us who decided that we're gonna have our free will to do whatever we want and break the law and reap the reaction of breaking the law, we chose that direction, right? And because of that, we cause a greater solidification of certain realms of existence, which brought about the realms of existence that we live on, the physical realms and the physical subtle realms, like the so-called hell and heavens. So and it pushed us into this cycle, into what they call the samsara, the cycle of rebirth, all right, which have us to have cycles of so-called consciousness, of conscious awakening, and which now we call, you know, birth and death and life and birth and death and all of that on the various realms of existence. It throws us into sort of like a chaos. But between the realms lives the Devic kingdom. They took on the duty of manipulating the negative and positive energy that we produce in order to create the proper balance for our next experience. And that's what they do. All right?
And the samskara, what's our thoughts connections that pollute that aura.
Yeah.
Got it.
And the yogis call it, they say it scars the aura, in a sense. Because if you've seen a perfect aura, it's very beautiful. But then all of a sudden, it has this scar across it, this negative type energy, you know. And some of the scars are beautiful too. But you have the negative and the positive scars, because you have good samskars and you have bad samskars. So, and that's the thing that is like a hiccup in the flow of this great, powerful cosmic energy within the auric body. Because the auric body is a cosmic body. It's not a base earth body. So any other questions? It's going to be a short class today, huh?
I read something, it's a footnote. Serpent Power, chapter 6. He's talking about, well, Brahmachari, if I'm right.
What page?
189, the second footnote. It says, as the footnote is referring to the term Brahmachari. And it says, as the Hatha Yoga Pradipika says, he who knows yoga should preserve his semen, for the expenditure of the latter tends to death. But there
What?
Death. But there is life for him who preserves it. It says, see also Yogatava something.
Upanishad.
Upanishad. Thank you. Which says that Hatha Yoga secures such personal beauty to the yogi that all women will desire him, but they must be resisted. See also verse 90, which shows the connection between semen, mind, and life. And this is where I had the question. In the early stages of Hatha Yoga, Sadhana, the heat goes upwards. Is that up the spine or up the body?
Probably talking about up the nadis and the spine.
In every stage, the heat goes upwards, the penis shrinks, and sexual powers are largely lost. Coition with emission of semen at this stage is likely to prove fatal. But a siddha regains his sexual power and can exercise it. For if, as is said, fire, and the other elements cannot hurt him, what can a woman do? Presumably, however, the dictum cited applies for continence. Cited applies for continence. Continence must, in all cases, tend to strength and longevity. It may, however, be that the physical perfection assumed negatives the ill effects observed in ordinary men. So that part is my whole question. Like, is that real?
What is that?
When you start practicing yoga, if you engage in sexual activity, you'll die. Or what exactly does it mean?
Is it saying that it counteracts the?
Well, what it does is dangerous, and that's why we tell you to abstain from sex when you practicing the deep psychic type practices for to develop yourself psychically and spiritually. It's dangerous to mix the two. I mean, that's the first thing you must do, and I always say that.
Right.
But that's why, because what happened, you open yourself up to the psychic world, and then you can go mentally ill if you're not careful, because Ojas, which is the so-called sex energy of the body, right, is the essence of what? I taught you all this. No, not Kundalini. What I taught is an aspect of Kundalini.
Yeah. I don't remember the name.
You say what the old has, the creator?
Ojas is the essence of what? You forget? No, I didn't. No, you gotta listen. No, it's the essence of what? That's what you said. What'd you say? Yeah.
It feeds the tissue.
The what? The seven what? Tissues, right? Spell tissues.
SS.
What?
SSUE.
Yeah. So, what is the seven tissues? Anybody remember them? The bone, the ligament, and all of that. It's the essence of that. So now, when you, in other words, it holds the frame together, right? So now what you're doing, you're intensifying this and you're moving this, this substance, you're actually distributing it, but yet you're moving the largest content of it up to the brain in order to bring about a balance of Ida and Pingala, right? In order to enhance your other senses of the body. And then with this balancing effect that you're doing through pranayama, through mantra, through all the kriyas, through the limbs of yoga, then all of a sudden you break that balance and you release the essence that hold everything together. Can you understand what I'm saying? You deplete it.
So it degenerates, starts to degenerate the body, basically.
Yes.
That's why a lot of athletes, when they're training very hard, is abstaining
Yeah.
to build up the boxers, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go right back to it, so it doesn't, in the long run, it doesn't help them.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it just makes the point
Yeah. But what you're doing with the psychic, you're doing this on a psychic level. And what you're trying to do, you're trying to bring about a balance of the psychic energies in the brain of the Ida and Pingala, because you try and fire the brain and bring about the balance. And when you have Ojas deposit back into that brain area in order to enhance the psychic energy, then you're bringing about that balance. And then all of a sudden, after you build this tremendous amount of Ojas in the brain center, you release it with one good act. So now, you fall, some of the yogas you say you fall 7 days behind. So you weaken yourself, and it can cause a ripple in your conscious makeup, your psychic makeup, and it's not good. And eventually, they had cases where some people went crazy. And they
so depressed.
yeah. Yeah, because it's the Ojas, the seven tissues hold the body, hold the framework together. It holds on the subtle planes and the physical plane. So now you're ripping it apart. And see, that's one of the problems with the Ayurveda. They don't talk the tantric part, the real tantric part of that. They don't teach it. They give you all these different methods, which nothing wrong with some of the methods they give you to replenish the body, which in most cases are good, but by leaving out the control of sex part is not good. And why is the tantric part of that.
So then, the longer you practice and develop yourself and go without sex, that makes it more dangerous to have that to release those
it just is, if you're heavily into it, if you're heavily into your mental practices, you have to prepare to do that, to have a sexual act. In other words, other than that, it's dangerous. In other words,
Physical manifestation of that, like what pain in the body or getting sick or.
it can be a lot of stuff. It can. I'm not going to try to tell you exactly what, but it can be a lot. Because I heard it. You know, I experienced it myself, and I heard it from other people. So it can be a lot. But that's why they tell you to slow down 7 to 14 days before, and another 7 days before you start it back. You know, I've told you all that before, right? Yeah. So that's why you're told that. Give the body a chance to, you know, to adjust to it. Other than that, you'll begin to have these experiences, you know, like almost as though you're on drugs.
And it works the same for women, I'm sure? Or is that different somehow?
I think it do work the same for women to a certain degree. It's harder on men,
I would imagine.
but I think it's the woman began to have all different type of things too. It works slightly for women. I know most women they say they start having what's the word for it? Flashes. They start having like different type of flashes where they feel things all over their body, or they feel disoriented. They feel like they hear and not hear, you know? I don't know how to describe it, but some of them have told me that they feel like, you know, they've been transported somewhere else, you know? So you have to be careful about it. And I think on Dr. King's, Dr. George King, his tape on Control Your Vital Fluids, he actually talks about a medium who he briefly talks about this medium who goes and he was performing all these type of psychic things by being a mediumship. He was having this tremendous psychic power run through his body. And then he would go and have sex and drink liquor. And eventually he went crazy.
Yeah, that's.
You know, so, you know, that's the dangers of that. So, it's not good. Any other questions?
Kind of along the same line, on page 199,
Mm-hmm.
is a paragraph, the second paragraph in the middle.
Can everybody online can hear you?
No. Can you repeat the questions or comments that you were addressing?
Here, take the microphone when you talk.
Actually, here, keep the mic. I'm going to unplug it and speak so this mic can hear me.
Okay, so they can hear you, because they always complain about that.
Page 199. The second paragraph, and the footnote corresponds to that paragraph. Oops. Hello? Okay, that's better. Okay, where are you?
Can you still hear me?
No, because it's pulling this mic. When I plug this one back in, it'll go back to you.
Okay.
One sec, got it. That's page 199. On the second paragraph. In correspondence with the threefold division, you gotta help me out, Felix. Adhyatma, what?
We could be wrong.
Right. Yeah, Sanskrit.
Mm-hmm.
Mind, manas, prana, vitality, and virya, semen, are one. Therefore, the subjugation of manas causes the subjugation of prana, or vayu, and virya. Similarly, by controlling prana, manas and virya are automatically controlled. Again, if the virya is controlled, and the substance which under the influence of sexual desire develops into gross seed, it is made to flow upwards. Okay. Control is had over both manas and prana. With pranayama, semen, sukra, dries up. The seminal force ascends and comes back as nectar, amrita, or Shiva Shakti. And then the footnote on the word seed is, according to Hindu ideas, semen, sukra, exists in a subtle form throughout the whole body. Under the influence of the sexual will, it is withdrawn and elaborated into a gross form in the sexual organs. To be udvatritas is not merely to prevent the emission of gross semen already formed, but to prevent its formation as gross seed and its absorption in the general system. The body of a man who is truly udvatritas has the scent of a lotus. A chaste man where gross semen has formed may, on the other hand, smell like a buck goat. So when it's the 7 tissues, that's before it's become.
So what they're talking about is ojas, and somebody who does the practices brings up that energy to transform it into something pure, versus somebody who has sex, turns it into that gross version, and
That's when the will pulls on it and turns it into semen.
Yeah, will you turn the semen? The sacred way is only to turn it into semen to produce, which creates tremendous sacrifice. The other way is to bring about spiritual enlightenment by bringing it up.
To the brain.
Yeah, to the brain.
Hatha Yoga and
Yeah. I told y'all the simple way. He told you the most complex and Sanskrit way. But it's all about bringing it up to fire the brain. You know, that's what Ojas does. Ojas belong in the brain center.
Remember you saying Ojas comes from the brain, it flows down.
It flows down, yes.
And when it's flowing down, that's when it becomes gross semen.
No, well, it has to feed the body first. It have to, because if you want the body frame to move, what do? You have to give it life. So it gives the frame of the body strength and power to navigate itself through your life. So that's the life force. That's why we call it the life fluid of the body. But then you come to puberty, where now you can contribute to outside life through the introduction of new life. So then it forms. It can go into the next stage where it forms the semen in order to produce life, or you can take the energy and push it back up and be a light for the world. So you make that choice, freedom or free will. So, and that's the choice that each one of us have to make. So
Pushing it back, taking it from the gross
back into you keeping it into a subtle state in order to feed the higher chakras, or to see what he's talking about, the manas, and that word is virya. That's a V, right?
Yeah.
V means semen, it says.
It means more than spell it out.
VIRYA.
Okay, is semen with knowledge. It's a knowledge base or enlightened type semen. Yeah, a higher form of semen. So you can bring it back down to its base thing and produce life and go ahead and and spin out of control, or you can take it back up and be a contribution to the world. Either or. On a mental plane, on a mental and spiritual level. So that's essentially what it means. But I mean, to me, they put too much physical and too much cultural stuff in there sometimes when they describe it, because especially back then, I guess it was a difficult subject to talk about. In 1919 or 19010, So I think he published that in 1919, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably was a difficult subject to talk about in the early 1900s.
So does it, Ojaz originating from, well, physically from the brain, does it have to do with, like, say, like you're saying, in order to move the body, you need the Ojaz to power it?
Yeah, of course. I explained.
Does that correspond to the Christ center, being the control, the command center?
Yeah, I explained that in the Constitution of Man. Remember we talk about the involution and the evolution? We talk about how the Shaktic power builds up and comes down to, through Sushumna and powers the Muladhara chakra, and then the Muladhara chakra produce all the nadis, and then the nadis feed and build it's a body within the auric body. And then from that comes all the other bodies. That part of that, remember, Ojaz is an aspect of Kundalini. Just like tapas, all the tissues are Kundalini. It's just different levels of Kundalini. And it's that Kundalini that's moving away from the dormant state of Kundalini, and because it already done moved from the crown chakra, see? And it came down through the Christ chakra, and then the Christ chakra introduced it into what? Into Sushumna, and compressed it, right? Because it's the Christ chakra who takes it on that journey in order to produce all the other bodies. See, so and that's where the soul is working from. See? And they say the soul take up residence in the heart chakra before it moves down to the lower chakras, right? But the soul actually exists here in the Christ, and it takes up a residence in the heart, and then it produces consciousness that takes up residence in the Muladhara and the sex chakra. Right? And then it uses the solar plexus chakra as a conjunction point for all the energies in the body. Okay, so but all that's explained inside of the Constitution of Man when we go over that. The Ojaz is a part of that flow of energy. The Ojaz is the essence of that flow of energy.
That's coming from the Muladhara upward.
No, it came from the brain center first. All energy come from the crown down to the Christ and into the Sushumna, into the auric body. All energy.
Right.
Okay, the Ojaz is that energy, is the essence of the energy that forms subtle and gross matter. Okay? You understand?
My confusion is, I'm thinking of it physically from the placement of, like, Kundalini's down here, Ojaz is up here, but it's
Kundalini was formed. Kundalini came from what? Where did Kundalini come from?
Shiva.
No.
Yeah, it goes into a Shiva state down there, but it is an aspect.
No,
It starts at the top.
No, I'm saying, where did Kundalini come from?
From the earth?
No. I'm just saying, where did it come from? You're right, it came from Earth, but still, I just want to. Shakti, yeah, Shakti. The soul and the Shakti. Remember, because what do you? It seems like everybody forget those fine points, huh? You have the crown chakra, right? All right. And the crown, and then you have the Christ chakra, or Ajna, right? Is my thing back on?
Your mic, yeah.
Okay. Right? And then, from the Christ chakra, you have what? You have Shushumna. So, when the spirit, right, creates the soul, the soul pulls on the Shaktic power, right? And it pulls on the Shaktic power from Earth, right? From the sun and from the moon. And it takes these modified Shakti powers and it pushes it down through Sushumna. Now, all the chakras are here. You got the throat chakra here, right? You have the heart chakra here. You have the solar plexus chakra here. You have the sex chakra here, and you have the base. Now, at this level is an equilibrium level for that Shakti power. Because that Shakti power entered as whole. Right? And then you compress the Shakti power. Okay? You understand that? Now, if you understand the science of right? You remember this? Yeah. What do you remember about it? Akasa, right? What is Akasa? Well, what is it? It's etheric sound. Right? See if somebody said something online.
This is a question about organs. Does it work through the hormones in the endocrine system?
So that's the first, it's etheric sound, right? So we look at this, is, you see? What did the soul do? It used what?
The throat's not to give meaning.
Huh? No, to make a sound. To make the initial sound to do what? To cause what? To create space. You know? You know in Star Trek, the way they shoot some type of beam or sound into space and open what? A wormhole. So that's what we have here. See? That's what a casa does. See, a casa is etheric sound. And what it does, it pushes the sound out and create a space or a pathway. You understand? Because why? Because this etheric sound is what? I teach you guys for years now. You missed the subtle. Is it my fault? Sound is what? So when the soul releases the etheric sound, it does what?
It creates the space for
It creates a body of consciousness, creating this space. All right? You see? So that because the soul is using this pure chakra, because the throat chakra is called the chakra of what?
Of air and space and
No, of purification. Remember? It's the chakra of purification. So what does it do? It creates this space, and because it's pure, it's what? Huh? It's what? It's a Brahmic space. So what? It's the what? It's a Brahmic nadi because why? Because it's a flow of energy.
So, okay, what is, that space is being created out of what, or through what?
What you mean? I just told you. Sound. It's almost like it opened a wormhole. It was always there. The Brahmanati is always there, but you have to tap into it.
Okay.
You have to call it forward. So,
potential.
from pure potential. So there you have it. So that's what the soul does. And it calls it open, and now it causes the Shakti power to flow through it. Okay? So what's the next one? What's the next one? What is it? What's the so what is this? Etheric air, right? The pranas, right? It creates a vacuum of air, right? In order to do what? In order to create speed, right? Now, so what happens, the sound is almost what?
It's being carried.
It's being carried, but it's multiplied, right? Right? It begins to give shape and meaning to it because of that. What's the next one?
Solar plexus.
And what is it? TJs, right? Right? So what does that do? Expands. So it begins to expand the sound and the energy, the flow of the energy, right? And then we have the next one, which is what? Apas, right? Right? So what does apas do? It begins to cool. And what does cooling do? It begins to contract, right? If I begin to want to cool something down, it begins to contract and becomes solid, which leads to the next one. What is the next one? What? Yeah. Pavitis. Right? And that is what? Solidification. Okay? So this is the science behind this. Right? As things go down, it becomes denser. As they go up, it becomes more subtle. All right? So what did the soul do? The soul used this realm of Brahmanati in order to create the consciousness of man. By the time it got here, it formed a state of consciousness because knowing that it was going solid, it knew that the higher energies at this level could not operate at this level. So what did it do?
Slow it down.
It went into a state of what?
Shiva.
Of Shiva. It went into a Shiva state. So it goes into the Shiva state, and then when it goes into the Shiva state, it reaches another level of equilibrium where what happens? The Shakti energy does what? it splits itself up, right? Yeah, it splits up, and it goes in different directions in order to do what? To create different levels of consciousness. Okay?
That's why the OJS has to flow down.
That's why the OJS have to flow down. And then that's why the OJS have to flow back up in order to become more spiritual. So, don't get caught up in the words, get caught up in the meaning of the words and what they stand for. It's a study in the flow of energy and how that energy operates, okay? So that's what this means, and that's how you have the different states of consciousness, the subtle, the higher states of consciousness versus the lower states of consciousness.
Do the OJS work with the hormones in the endocrine system?
The tissues uses the OJS to build those systems. Okay? You have all the different tissues in the body. The tissues are the cells, because what happened, what we're taught in science, and science got this, they went and studied this ancient system and came back and just gave it different names. Cells come together and form what? Blood, right? Blood forms what? Tissue. Tissue forms what?
Organs.
It forms organs, and organs form systems. So inside the seven tissues, you have the first thing that forms cells, which is bone marrow. They named the bone marrow, right, as one of the first tissues, I think. Then you have the bone, and you have the cells, you have the blood, you have the ligaments, the ligament, I think, and then you have the I can't remember all of them, but it's 7 of them, huh?
Sinew.
What?
Sinew tissue? I didn't
Well, he made it very simple in that book. It's in that book right there. He gives the seven tissues. Look in I can't remember. Look in the mantra session of it. I know it's bone marrow, it's the bone itself, it's the cell, I think it's the cell or the blood. Then you have the ligament, right? Then you have the tissue itself, I think. And you have the phlegm. I think they even go into the phlegm and I think I don't know if they talk about brain tissue. And then the 8th one is the semen. You see it? It's at the bottom of the page, right?
Bone, fat, flesh,
Yeah.
blood, skin, marrow.
Yeah. They give all 7?
They give 6.
And what they make the 7th one? They're supposed to be 7, I think.
Doesn't talk about it.
They call it tissue, or they call it what?
Bone, fat, flesh. I think that's what they call it. Blood, skin.
I'm talking about before they go into it.
One second here.
All right. All right, can you hear me? All right. But that's on what page?
93.
On page 93 of Serpent Power, it goes into it in a deeper way, talking about the tissues of the body.
So, when a woman breastfeeds her child, that milk that she produces is a concentrated form of ojas to preserve the child?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Everything in the body is, it depends on ojas. Okay, ojas is the essence. It's the vital life fluid of the body. So that's why that's why the yogis tell you to preserve it. So.
Rhoda asks, the biofeedback loop of the hormone system addresses the interactions of ojas up and down. Is that correct?
The biofeedbacks of what?
The biofeedback loop of the hormone system, is that addressing the interaction of ojas flowing up and down?
I don't know. I don't know if that's it is talking about one aspect of ojas, but you got to remember ojas exists on several planes of existence. So you can't get a full reading of it. It might be a partial reading. So I wouldn't say that it reads everything. I wouldn't say that.
Ojas is used to form like astral,
Yeah.
on all sides.
Yeah. It feeds all the bodies. So to a certain extent, in other words. So that's you can't say that this physical machine, unless it's calibrated to to read subtle energy. No, I wouldn't say that it's gonna give a good reading of it, no. But it can read aspects of it. It's like an EKG machine, because that's what a biofeedback is similar to an EKG machine.
I remember you saying something before, how the sperm and the ovum represent kind of Shaktic Shiva. The ovums, the egg is still, but the sperm moves. And they're coming together provides that portal.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's similar, yeah. It's because everything in life, if you look at it close enough, you can relate it back to the aspects of creation, of Shiva, Nata, Shakti. You can always relate it back to that.
So is the egg the manifestation of the female equivalent to manifestation of ojas?
The female manifestation of ojas, yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Because it's solidified, right? Yeah.
During menstruation, is woman losing?
She's losing, yeah, she's losing Shakti, she's losing that, remember, everything is an aspect, it has ojas in it.
Right.
So, I mean,
That's a replenishing factor.
when you blow your nose, you you shed in your skin, you shed, skin every second, every minute, whether you realize it or not, So the yogis were saying to give away the essence of it, the thing that creates life, is wrong because, see, the shedding of the skin is a natural function. See, the sneezing, the hair loss, all those are natural functions. Urinating, menstruation, that's a natural function. So those things are natural, and it's usually done to create a balance in order to keep you here, on the physical plane. But the excessive use of it through through the abuse of it, that's what's wrong. But if you hold a respect of it, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Now, in certain cultures, they look at, oh, all right, 1 second, please hold. Hello? Okay. Hello? All right, in certain cultures, they call the female ejaculate divine nectar, and it's something to, like, some cultures will preserve it and they'll carry it to battle or they'll drink it, things like that. That's different than, say, menstruation, was like a natural process, but this is something that's actually produced through sexual stimulation. Is that what were you saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
So is that then too, is that an abusive ojaz or a similar effect as what ejaculation has to a male?
It's all in the intent. It's all in the intent. You saying that they take the cycle of a woman, you saying?
No, not the cycle, the ejaculation of a woman.
Uh-huh.
And then they'll bottle it and they'll call it divine nectar and they use it for different things. Eastern.
I don't know, it's a form of ojaz too, but the intent is a thing to create either negative or positive. So if their intent to do something wrong, then, it's wrong. If their intent to do something good, then it might be somewhat good. Depending on the selfless part of that act. You understand what I'm saying? So it's always the intent of something. Because we have this strong ability to judge culture and people based on our own philosophy and politics, which is dead wrong, because what make things work on this side of the world don't necessarily make things work on another side of the world. So something that might be totally detrimental to us might be positive and good for another person on the side of the world because of their makeup, their climate, so we have to be cautious about that. So the yogis always say it's the intent. Look at the intent of the people. What was their main intent? If the main intent was totally selfish, after looked at it totally, then it's probably going to produce a negative, result. But if the intent was positive and it helped a lot of people, then it's a positive type energy, and the reaction is going to be positive.
I guess my question was, like, what was the philosophy behind harnessing female sexual fluid?
I don't know, because there's so many aspects of that. See, now you're going into black magic, so a lot of black magic and Wicca stuff, they use body parts and body fluids and stuff like that. And the yogis really try to stay out of that unless they entering into a realm of medicine, So, but not because, you can, especially the parts of a woman, you can do all type of magic with it, so-called black magic, but because men are not ready to, his mind is so screwed up, we leave that alone, and only the ones who know should know, but we don't pass that type of knowledge on openly, but yeah, so you have to be very careful about that. All right. Any other questions? If there's no other questions, we can probably close out.